Hello viewers, welcome to today's episode of the Entrepreneurial Spark program. In our studio today, I'm with Mr. Sepgon, a lecturer of entrepreneurship, Moi University, and we are focusing on business startup today. Welcome, Mr. Sepgon. When we are talking of a business startup, what exactly do we mean?
Good evening, viewers. Before I explain what enterprise startup is, I would want to really maybe do a recap of our preceding programs. I remember we did programs on idea generation, idea screening. We also saw something on writing a bankable business plan. And in our last episode, I think we looked at the financing of these enterprises. Now, what is a startup or enterprise startup is really the consummation of the entire process of entrepreneurship. So when you start the business, when you initiate the business, we're talking about a startup, which of course is about providing a solution to a certain problem that affects the customers. So if there is a need in the market, when you try to really solve that need, we're actually initiating the program, the enterprise, and therefore you are providing a solution to that particular problem. In a startup, an entrepreneur may venture in any of the three sectors. He may choose perhaps to manufacture a product if there is a need for a product that ought to be manufactured. He could also perhaps maybe participate in the trade sector where he does maybe distribution of products, so you buy products for the sale. And lastly, an entrepreneur may also participate in the service sector where you're providing a service. It could be maybe you're trying to offer advertisement products to maybe your clients. You could be thinking of insurance. You could be thinking of even simple the business like running a kinyozi, which is actually a service-oriented business. So when an entrepreneur decides to plunge into the business, we are calling it a startup.
And having explained what a business startup is, what are the important factors to consider in a business startup?
There are several factors which ought to be considered when you're starting up a business. Remember, there are aspects that you've covered in the business plan will always come to play, because the draft that you do in a business plan is actually a snapshot of what you intend to do. So when you're talking about a business name, for example, which is a very important aspect, you need to think about a very catchy business name, such that that business name must reveal the kind of business you want to do. So if you're actually in the food industry, you must have a name that can give a cue that what you're trying to offer the public is actually something to do with food. And make sure that that particular name is actually universal. Don't use names which are restricted to some region or some locality. Because what I've seen in most enterprises is that, as we've seen in many towns, is that we use local terms. Others even use names of their children. Others use names of particular trees that exist in their community. And at times you'll find the name does not radiate well to the entire populace who are to consume your product. So when you want to start your business, ensure that the name radiates well and it actually captures what you intend to offer the public. Number two is that you need to think about the market and the economy in general, the micro and the macro economy. So that if you are starting a business, that business must really have a market. There must be an opportunity in the market. Otherwise, you may want to think that you want to do a business, yet there is no market for that product. So as you plan into the business, you realize that you cannot really break even. And if you don't break even, that means that the business will, of course, witness maybe its demise in a short while. So the issue of that market and the economy you must consider.
And how do you know that a particular business has a market or not?
Now, when you want to know whether a business has opportunity or not, you must always do the market analysis. Remember, everything that you do when you are drafting even the business plan, it must be investigated. You must do some market and marketing research, sure, so that you will be able to tell whether this product will actually receive maybe some reasonable number of clients in its initial stage. So you must really do your due diligence before you just venture into a business, because if you don't do that, then it means that you are risking your finances in the business. So you must be very, very diligent in identifying whether the business opportunity exists or not. Now, the third issue that you need to consider is the experience. Do you have experience to venture into this business? Oftentimes, you'll find people receive some money, either maybe a windfall, and they feel like I want to go into business. And instead of identifying the business where they have some experience or some expertise, they just plunge into any other business. You may meet a friend who tells you about a certain business, and you think like, I can do that business, yet you lack the expertise or the experience in that. Business that succeed are those run by people who have prior experience in that industry. If I want to do maybe run a mechanic auto carriage, for example, and I've been working with General Motors, for example, I'm better placed to really succeed because I know the nitty-gritty about that kind of business. So we should not just rush into a business without necessarily having the expertise. Whether it's a sole proprietorship, whether it's a partnership, there must be a person who has the experience so that we understand the nitty-gritty issues.
Before moving to the next factor, let's take an example of a university graduate who has just moved from the university, an entrepreneurship university graduate, and he wants to venture into a business. All right, this person has never been into any business. When we are talking of expertise and experience, don't we think that we are not favoring such a person? And in entrepreneurship, we're also talking about innovations.
Now, the rule of thumb is that entrepreneurs need to have had some experience for about 2 years. That's actually the rule of thumb, that if you want to venture into a business, you ought to have been in that kind of industry for about 2 years. That is actually the rule of thumb. But whether you are a student of entrepreneurship or even engineering or anything, you can still be an entrepreneur. But the issue is, do you have that particular interest in learning the ropes so that you can venture into the business? So we are not looking out everybody, but what we are saying is the experiences must not be industry drawn. You may have even done some observation. That's what we call empathic kind of search of knowledge, where you observe how people behave, see weaknesses in what people are offering, so that when you move in, like you go to a hotel and you feel like the meal they're serving is not good, it doesn't mean that you must be in that hotel industry for 2 years, as they say, it's a rule of thumb. You can still start the business and then improve on the weaknesses of the existing business, and then you will succeed. So generally, it is actually not experience just from the industry. You can still find experiences from without, and you will still deliver that kind of business.
Okay, thank you. Any other factor?
There are two sets of entrepreneurs. There's an entrepreneur who is employed, who has what we call gainful employment elsewhere, and he wants to have a part-time kind of business. And there is another type of entrepreneur who is a self-employed entrepreneur, who is venturing that entrepreneurship, that enterprise as the owner manager. Now, studies indicate that entrepreneurs who do their business on a full-time basis tend to succeed. Therefore, if you are to start your business, you need to ask yourself, will I have the time to commit to this kind of business? Now, even if you're gainfully employed elsewhere, you need to really find time to kick off that business when you have the availability of time. For example, you can take leave, so that as you start the business, you'll be able to really monitor the challenges with teething problems all the time. So if you are gainfully employed, ensure that perhaps you can take your annual leave, plunge into the business, run the business. As you are winding up your leave, at least the business will be eating some path and becoming stable. Otherwise, it will be difficult. Equally, it doesn't mean that 1 month is enough. As you run that business during that period when you are on leave, ensure that you build your staff, have fellows entrench into your idea, so that by the time you are perhaps resuming your duty, there is somebody who will take over and run the business. But still, you must always be in touch with the business. It must be even daily. You must be there daily so that you assess the business, receive customer feedback, deal with complaints, and then you'll be able to succeed. And the other factor that I also want to mention is the location. Location is a very important thing. Where you locate your business determines whether the business succeeds or not. Even when you see today, some unscrupulous business people have abused the word goodwill. You find a new building coming up, and then people are giving some space, and they're charging some goodwill, which is wrong, because goodwill by definition is you are buying an existing business with a clientele and perhaps with experienced employees. So if I'm running a business like a retail store and you're buying that business from me, I will have built my clientele base. It's only change of owners, but you'll still continue experiencing purchases from my clients. That's actually where Goodwill works. So when you're locating your business, look at your business where the market is. Look at the business where you create some convenience. So much so that at least people can really be able to reach your premise maybe without any challenge. Yeah. So location is very important.
And how important is location at this startup level?
Well, location is very important. A business cannot operate in isolation. It must operate within a certain setup, and the setup defines the location where you have your business. And as you offer your product or your service, you are targeting a certain market niche. Your market niche could be high-end consumers or middle-level or low-income earners. So if you are targeting, say, low-income earners, the most important thing is to locate your business where those people are domiciled. If you are targeting high-end users, then you do the same. For example, if you are selling high-end vehicles, the V8 and the rest, it will be inappropriate for you to locate in an area surrounded by people who are in the middle and the low level. So you'll go to the high-end estates like Leleshwa, you put a yard there, you stock that kind of vehicles so that these people, when they are out of their houses, they will be able to see. So it is important that we have that so that we can expose our business to the consumers who are ready to buy your product. Equally, you need also to think about the cost implication when you're locating your business. Costs could be things like wages. Are you able to receive cheap labor for that matter? Most countries like even Japan, even UK and US are relocating their plants to the east, the orient. The reason being labor there is cheaper. So instead of paying maybe the huge wages in this country, you will move to such countries where you can pay maybe wages for one equivalent in US to maybe about 5 of them. So at the end of the day, your product will be cheaper in the market and extremely competitive. So the cost to do with wages, cost to do with even the premises that you're paying rent, other expenses like availability of things like water, electricity, I mean auxiliary services will also play a very, very critical issue. But in location, usually we have what we call 5 C's of locating a business, which defines how you can locate your business. The first C is cost, and of course I've explained the cost component. You need to have a place where it is convenient in terms of your expenses. It should not be expensive for that matter in terms of wages, in terms of rent and the rest. The second C is convenience. How convenient is your location? Is it secure for your clients? Because there are areas where at 6 in the evening you must shut your shop because of the security issues. Is it convenient to your other players in the chain, in the value chain? Is it convenient to your suppliers? Even is it convenient to the other partners like regulatory bodies? So the aspect of convenience must be there so that your business will thrive. The other C is the issue of community. You cannot operate in a vacuum as a business.
Sure.
So your enterprise must actually be domiciled within a certain community. It could be a certain village, it could be a certain suburban, peri-urban, or even a certain city. That's where the community we're talking about. And in this community, you are focused on having a network of clientele. You are focused on having what we call social capital. Who are the people who will buy from you? So the aspect of the community is very important because they provide you the market for your products. The other C is caliber. The caliber in the sense that what caliber of employees are you likely to secure? Because what at times differentiates two businesses is actually the quality of the employees. If you have talented employees, fellows who have right work ethic, people who are passionate about the kind of work they're doing, you are likely to deliver. Unlike when you have fellows who are very, very complacent in what they're supposed to do. Equal on the issue of caliber, you think also about the infrastructure. Do we have the right infrastructure in terms of road network? Is it convenient for people to supply you? Are you able to have maybe the right source of energy? Like in Kenya, I think we are bogged down with a lot of power blackouts. So are you able to really have alternative source of power so that you can do this? So the aspect of caliber will address the issue of the quality of employees, and the infrastructure that persists in that particular area. And the final C is and the final C is creativity. When we talk about creativity, it's actually the heartbeat of entrepreneurship. To be innovative, you have to be creative. And when we talk about the creativity in the aspects of location, we are indeed focused on the creativity of the people who are within that location. For example, if I'm to set up, say, a business like I want to set a factory where I can squeeze, say, mango juice, mango syrup, and you find that the people who are within that particular region have been doing maybe cattle rearing. A very, very creative community will see the opportunity, and they will change their economic style from cattle rearing to now farming mangoes, because they are seeing an opportunity. That is the kind of environment that you are thinking about. So you must have a creative environment which will support you in terms of their ingenuity, with regard to providing you with raw materials, with regard to providing you very, very creative maybe staff, and so on and so forth. So the 5 C's will always give you a hint on how you really have to locate your business, so that you don't locate your business in an environment which of course will make it collapse within the first 1 year.
We are taking a short break, but we are coming back with more on legal issues in business startup, among other things. Don't go too far.